Hello and welcome back, everyone, to our 9-month Ultimate World Cruise adventure. And today we are in
Hong Kong! Welcome to Living Phase 2.
Hi, I'm Mike.
And I'm Nancy, and we're empty nesters striving to live life to the fullest.
And we're living that full life aboard Royal Caribbean's 9-month Ultimate World Cruise on Serenade of the Seas.
We sure are. Well, friends, today we are in Hong Kong. This is quite an exciting port to get to visit. And we arrived nice and early at 6 in the morning, and we'd hired a guide, and so we had to get off the ship rather early. The unfortunate part is they were getting ready to do one of those big dragon dances with the music and everything, and so unfortunately we missed that. We got some video of them preparing for it, but we didn't get to see it. But that is just the way it goes. But,
and for those of you that are coming in on a cruise ship, they've built a brand new cruise terminal here. It used to be the old airport in this area, and now it's a cruise terminal. You do have to walk quite a ways to get through, but it's
steps.
Good meeting areas. Your taxi or your driver, your Uber, whatever it may be, or your guide will come right there to the terminal and pick you up. And it all worked really well. Well, why don't we pause for a second before we get into what we did for the day, and let's just make sure we kind of all level set on Hong Kong. So when we say Hong Kong, we're going to mean the larger overall area of Hong Kong. It actually is two major areas. One is the island of Hong Kong. That's the original area. And then there's Kowloon, which is on the mainland of China. That's across the inlet there, across the harbor from Hong Kong Island. But when we say Hong Kong, we'll mean all of it. Now, when we're touring in the area of Kowloon, we'll say Kowloon. Or if we're touring in the original area, we'll say the island of Hong Kong. So we did hire a local guide because we wanted to get as local experience. We wanted to learn what it was like for people to live in Hong Kong, and that is what we asked our guide. We arranged this thing with him to live like a local, and he picked us up right at the terminal. We had 4 other of our friends. There were 6 total of us. We got in his rather small minivan. It was for 7, but it was a little tight, especially for our Western bottoms. And we got in his car and he took off. Well, the first place he did, he took us off of Kowloon. That's where your ship is going to dock if you're on a cruise ship, is on the Kowloon side. Remember, that's on the mainland. And we actually drove under the channel and through a tunnel under the water, and then back up into the what's called main financial center. And we stopped very quickly at St. John's Cathedral.
We did, it's the oldest cathedral in Hong Kong, and it's an Anglican church now. There was lots and lots of children. They were having some sort of ceremony or celebration there. I don't know if it was a graduation or what it was.
Sure looked like a lot of kids,
But but the locals were all there.
Yeah, they were. Well, then our guide took us from there down to the center, the heart of the financial district, which was the HSBC Bank. And at first we're thinking, oh, why is he taking us to a bank? Well, HSBC, that spot, that area, is really why Hong Kong exists. Now, we're not going to go into the whole history of Hong Kong. You guys can look up Wikipedia just like we can. But the HSBC, which is the Hong Kong Shanghai Bank of China, is the main financial hub. It's the bank that has been there from the beginning, since the British took that area of Hong Kong from the Chinese. You can look up about the Opium Wars. That's also the second Opium War, is why the British have, or the Opium War. The first one is why the British have the Kowloon side and have that peace over there on mainland China. And that lasted for almost 100 years, to the late 80s to the 90s, when they handed Hong Kong back to the Chinese. Their 99-year lease on Hong Kong Island had expired, and they went through the handover ceremony. But HSBC, it was really nice that they've set up a whole series of photos and an area. They even have a map on the ground showing the original layout of Hong Kong. And it was really a nice place for our guide to give us that historical overview
The
of
start,
Hong Kong,
yeah.
right? How Hong Kong started, how it got to where it was today, and in fact, even where the original shoreline was, because they've reclaimed a lot of that. But certainly, seeing the financial district, you could see the wealth of Hong Kong.
Oh, you should. A lot. Every other car was what, a Lamborghini or a BMW
Yeah,
or
Mercedes, Bentleys, it was McLarens. I mean, there was plenty of money down
yeah.
there.
You boys enjoyed looking at the
Yeah,
cars.
we did. We did. The HSBC building was also quite fascinating, and it's one of the first modularly constructed buildings in the world. So they built components of the building elsewhere. I think it was in Switzerland and Britain, and they brought those components over and then assembled them. In fact, it caused some fear because that was happening when the time of the transfer of Hong Kong was getting ready. They were talking about it, and in fact, some of the people in Hong Kong even said the British could disassemble the building and bring it back if everything went wrong with the handover. But of course, that hasn't happened. The building is still there, and HSBC being such a long-time bank, the symbol of HSBC is these lions. You can see those here. They're solid bronze, and in fact, during World War II, when the Japanese took over Hong Kong, they took those lions, took them to Japan, and they were going to melt them down for the metal. And after World War II, they were found and actually returned to this spot, and they've been here ever since. And some people will rub the nose or rub the lion for good luck, and since they're the symbol of a financial company. So yeah, that's where we started, and then we learned about how the workers there have their lunch. Even though they're all driving Mercedes and fancy cars, they have a fairly simple lunch there.
Yeah, he took us to a little canteen,
Yeah,
little deli
exactly.
type place, and he showed us. Well, when we were there, it was early in the morning, so the menu was for breakfast and just what they would typically eat for breakfast, which you can see here.
Yeah, he called it a Hong Kong diner, and we saw those all over Hong Kong, where you could just go in, get a quick, inexpensive meal, breakfast, lunch, dinner, whatever it might be, and it was just very, very normal, very local Hong Kong.
Well, we got back into the car, and the next place he took us to was the Marmo Temple, which is the oldest temple in the original Hong Kong area. And we got to go inside, which was really fascinating because there were statues, but there's lots of incense, just coils and coils and coils of incense burning. Every one of those coils that you see in the pictures was all burning, and then they all had prayers hanging from them or wishes hanging from them, and so it was really
It was
that
very
was a
fascinating.
neat thing to see.
Yeah.
People would go in. There's at the back of the temple. There's a sword and a paintbrush, and people, the Taoists, they would go in and they would pray, and they would touch the paintbrush and the sword, and
Yeah, like the paintbrush, the idea there was it would give you good academics. Like maybe they
Yes.
bring kids in, and
Right.
because it symbolizes the academics. So yeah, and our guide actually is a Taoist, and so he told us a little bit about it, and it was quite
was.
fascinating, quite fascinating.
it was. Well, the next place he took us to was now a local market, and and we do mean local. This is where the locals were shopping, and there would just be one vendor after another under these awnings, and we're walking down the street, you could look straight up and see the apartment buildings and all the clothes hanging from the apartment buildings, and these people would come down from the apartments and they do their shopping, and that
You could buy anything there.
we could.
So
we
you can
could.
see we had fresh fish. In fact, fish and shrimp that were still moving and swimming. And you had all the pork and the beef and a lot of pork. You had the butchers there. You had bakeries. In fact, he stopped at a bakery and got us some treats.
He got us a couple of rolls that are very traditional for them, or something that they would eat on a daily basis. He also got us some tofu pudding that was ginger flavored.
Yeah, it had a ginger syrup on it. And I'm not one for tofu, but I have to admit, it was very good.
It tasted like custard.
It was like custard,
It's what
right.
it really tasted like.
Very strong on the ginger side, so it kind of gave you that ginger bite, and I like that about it. Yeah.
He also got for us the most common drink that they have in Hong Kong, which is called milk tea. It was a hot beverage, and you could taste ginger and cinnamon in it, and it was quite good.
Yeah, the milk tea was good, and they drink that more than millions of cups of milk tea are drank each day in Hong Kong, he said.
Yeah,
And,
yeah, millions is right.
yeah.
No exaggeration there.
Yeah,
But
that was just, we could have spent, in fact, we probably spent a good hour and a half walking those local markets and just seeing and experiencing the smells and tastes and sounds, and that was a wonderful experience.
Right, it
I
was.
really did enjoy it, yeah.
Got my Christmas ornament
did?
there.
Yeah,
I
you
did.
bought
I got
it?
a
Little happy cat.
Happy cat. Well,
Yeah.
it's not really a Christmas ornament, but I'm going to turn it into a Christmas
Yeah.
ornament when I get home.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
to
that worked
remember
out
our
well.
time in Hong Kong.
Yeah,
And I was also going to show when we got off of the cruise ship at the tourist office was right there, and they gave all of us exiting the cruise ship. It's a little rice steamer, but inside the rice steamer, it's plastic, is a dumpling.
Yeah. Yeah,
There, you
it's
see
a
that?
dumpling steamer. Yeah, with that.
And then inside the dumpling is zippered, was a shopping bag.
Right.
So, because you don't get shopping bags when you do your shopping here,
Yeah.
that they just
Yeah.
hand you
So it
your
was
items.
really
You have to
nice,
bring your
yeah.
own. So,
So
they
now
gave
we
us
have
all a
a
shopping
dumpling
bag.
steamer with a dumpling and a shopping bag. So, and it actually came in handy on the second day because we did a little shopping, and you actually ended up using it.
And
so,
maybe
yeah.
I could turn this into a Christmas ornament
I
too.
think you could actually, yeah. So, no, that was kind of nice. But I love
was
those local
fascinating.
markets.
I did too.
really did.
Another shop that he took us to, I found this fascinating. It was a paper goods shop, but not paper like notebook paper, but there were so many things made out of paper. Like paper shoes, a paper car, a house, and these
Purses, all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
a mahjong set made out of paper. These paper items are then presented to the dead.
Yeah,
I guess
at the
I'm saying
graveside.
that right.
Yeah, at the graveside,
Then
yeah.
they're burned, and these items are given as an offering for people in their afterlife of things that they like to
So maybe
remember.
if like they loved mahjong, you would buy a paper mahjong set, burn it at their grave, and then that's a way to offer it to them so they can have it in the afterlife.
Yeah.
But they had a whole store, and this was the time of year where they normally it's almost like their Memorial Day. They all go out to the graves of their relatives, and they do this, and so there was a whole store just selling those things. It was really
interesting to
it was
see.
very, very interesting. Yeah, I enjoyed that a lot. Well, after that, I think we went to lunch, right?
It was lunchtime. He took us to the Glorious Fish Market.
Glorious Seafood.
Restaurant.
Yeah.
Yep. And that was a dim sum restaurant, and that was really neat too.
It was good. It was very good. Remember, dim sum just means small snack, right? So it's effectively Chinese tapas, as you would say.
That's a good way to describe it.
Yeah, and we had just put ourselves in our guide's hand, and he ordered all of his favorite things, which every time I've been to China on business in the past, and we're seeing this here too, there's always a ton of food. Always a ton of food.
Yeah, it wasn't a snack.
No.
It was a lot of food.
Yeah, so it was a very good lunch. We had roasted duck, we had dumplings, we had sweet rice cakes, we had
Baked
everything.
goods
More buns and all kinds of things. Yeah, and he even had bought some treats at the bakery that he brought in, and we had some of those there. And no, it was a very good lunch.
It was
really, really good lunch. He did an excellent job. Well, after we left the dim sum, right across from the dim sum was a local grocery store. And as we've said many times on these videos, you can see more about local culture just going into a grocery store, right? And it was to me a dichotomy in being in the local markets and then being in the grocery store was just like one we'd have back home. It really was. So not a lot different there, laid out very much the same.
Lots of tea.
Yeah, which you did get some tea as a gift for someone. But yeah, it was interesting just seeing, if you lived in that particular area, which we had gone from more of a normal class to a little bit more of an upper middle class, and that's why they had more of a regular grocery store versus the street markets. It just depends on where you're at and where you're at in society. So it was interesting.
Well, what had taken us to that nicer area is we were on our way to the Aberdeen Fishing Wharf, and this was a really neat place. There were lots and lots of boats. Now, in the day, people would live on these boats. They'd go out and they'd do their fishing, and they'd come back in to sell their fish, and they would actually live on the boats.
Yeah, they called it the fishing village. Yeah.
Now, today they really don't. Maybe a few still live on the boats, but very few. Most live in apartments nearby, but the boats are still there that they can go out and do their fishing and bring the fish back in.
Yeah. So maybe this is a little pro tip here, as our guide warned us. He goes, well, we could get out one of the little junkets, and it'll drive you around between those houseboats. He goes, but nobody really lives there. He goes, that's an old thing. It for years nobody's really lived out there. But be careful, some of the guides will tell you, oh yeah, everyone lives in these boats, and it's this cute fishing village. It really isn't at this point. So
so now you know the truth.
Yeah, you can get a great view, just like we did, standing on the edge of the wharf, and wonderful view of the boats and the fishing boats. But it's really up to you. You don't feel like you have to take the junket out there to really see anything. So,
right.
Yeah. Well, we left there, and finally, as you've seen in some of the pictures, especially in the morning, it was pretty hazy that day.
Yes, it was.
Well, it finally cleared up, and we got to go up to Victoria Peak. That is really one of the most famous places on Hong Kong Island. It's the highest point of Hong Kong Island, and so you can go up and get a nice overview of the whole city.
Yep, we could see our cruise ship out in the distance, and it's very, very beautiful up there.
Yep, see some of the highest buildings there, and in fact, the building that you're seeing across from us, that's where the tallest bar in the world is, Ozone, and that building is actually taller than Victoria Peak. So it's kind of amazing to see the city. But we got a great overview of the city there, and it was a nice drive up there.
After Victoria Peak, he took us back to some other markets, and it's interesting how like places are consolidated. So we actually got out of the vehicle and walked around pet shops where they were selling not only cats, dogs, rabbits, guinea pigs, turtles, lots and lots of fish.
Oh, goldfish, bags and bags of goldfish. Yeah.
Yes, and so, and all the pet stores were together, and then we saw all of these flower shops that were bonsai trees and orchids, and it was just beautiful in that little congregation of shops.
Yeah.
So, but then after that, he took us back to the ship and gave us some pointers on things that we should see that evening, because our ship was actually there overnight. We're there in Hong Kong for 2 days, and gave us also tips for things to see the next day.
Yep, so really quick here, this is going to be our first video on Hong Kong. We're going to have another one coming out after this. So to make sure that you don't miss that, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. We always appreciate every subscribe that we get, and that way you don't miss any of our 9-month Ultimate World Cruise adventure. Well, we got back to the ship, and like you said, we put our feet up for a few minutes because we're going back out. We're hitting Hong Kong again that night.
We are. It's a lot of walking, but first place we went to, we caught an Uber, and we had him.
Oh, that's
take
probably
us
a good point too. Uber is probably the easiest way to get around. Taking an Uber from the cruise ship terminal to almost anywhere we went was always about $20. So that was relatively affordable, easy. They had vehicles that would fit 6 people on an Uber XL. So Uber is really the way you get around Hong Kong. Makes it very easy. They do have taxis, but the nice thing about Uber is everybody knows you just pay up front, and it's all pay through Uber, and it's all good to go. So sorry about that, but interrupt you.
Okay.
But so we went ahead and we took that downtown.
Right. The first market that we went to was called the Ladies Market, and so that's where the Uber dropped us off. Now this is more souvenirs, more
tourist.
Yes, and more where you need to bargain, because the markets that we saw earlier in the day that the locals go to, the price is the price. So what you see or what they tell you, that's the price. But now at these tourist markets that we went to in the evening, there you negotiate. There wasn't a lot though of them trying to drag you into their shop, that they let you just walk by and look and didn't hound us, which was nice. So
yeah, I mean a little bit of, hey, what are you looking for, that kind of thing, but nothing like we were inundated with in Manila as we were getting off the ship there. So, but yeah, honestly, it was, I mean, interesting to go through all those, but it was kind of stall after stall of kind of the same thing. You know,
Right.
once you'd seen about 5 or 10 of the stalls, you'd pretty much seen everything they have. But those markets went on for blocks and blocks, and yeah, I think some of our friends brought a few souvenirs. I think someone brought like some chopstick sets. Those kind of things are really good to get there. But this is such a difference from where our guide took us earlier today, where it was all locals. To this was all tourists at this point.
Right.
But not discouraging anybody from going to either the ladies market or the temple market we'll mention in a minute. They're just tourist areas.
Right,
Yeah.
but they're called a night market. They open up at 2 in the afternoon, and then they stay open until 11 at night. So they are open
Right.
later. And by the way, when we were in the financial area, we stopped at an ATM and got out some local currency, so we
Yeah.
would have it if we would need it
Over
at these
these
markets.
couple days. Yeah.
Yeah, we stopped. We had dinner at a restaurant. Ordered just.
Everything.
We got adventuresome. I know I had a salad with soft shell crab on top, and some things were written in English, some things were kind
Not.
of challenging,
Yeah.
and you had to use your Google Translate. You had your phone out trying to figure out what was on the menu,
And the way that works is you just take the menu sheet, you have the menu, and again, most of the menus have pictures, and in Hong Kong especially, being a former British colony, a lot of stuff is written in English. So it is probably one of the easiest towns to get around, and it truly is. Don't feel like you've got to have, specifically a guide to get everywhere. You can
Right.
very easily get around Hong Kong and read signs, menus, those types
yeah,
of things.
it just can feel overwhelming because everything is so different
Yeah.
that it can almost feel overwhelming.
But don't let it overwhelm you.
Right.
And it's
Take your time.
People are friendly.
Yep.
It really is good.
Everyone was very
so anyway,
friendly.
the point being, we had great dinner. I had chicken skin on a stick. You had the soft shell crab. We had some dumplings. We had, so all our friends, again, kind of this is how you eat. You eat family style in China, where people order things and people try different things. And the food was excellent. The service was great. The lady there was helping us out with everything, and she was trying to teach us how to say certain things in Cantonese, which is what they speak there. But no, had a great time at dinner. And then we walked from there to the temple market. Well, unfortunately, by the time we had walked the ladies market, had dinner, all that, it was about 10:30 at night. We did make it to the temple market, but by the time we got there, it was kind of closing up. It was wrapping up for the day since they
I
closed
think
at 11.
though from what I could tell, they had many of the same types of items that we saw at the initial market.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. A little bit of a pro tip. If you do walk between the ladies market and the temple market, it's a good 15 blocks. It's going to take you about 15 minutes to walk down there. And at night, I'd say it's a little bit more the seedier side of Hong Kong. We never felt unsafe, ever. But just realize you're walking through some areas that, they're selling some things maybe you don't want to buy, okay?
Ladies are out
Yeah.
doing some questionable activities.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but anyway, no,
Yeah.
we were together as a group and never felt...
Never. Hong Kong's going to be one of the safest
Yes.
cities you're ever going to visit. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, we walked through what was remaining of the temple market, and you can see the hanging lanterns and all the famous things that you've probably seen in different pictures. And then from the end of the temple market, we caught an Uber. It took us back to our ship, and
Got back about midnight.
We did. We got back about midnight and put our feet up because our guide Jackie, which by the way we'll link to him in his business. Jackie actually owns his own tour business. He has tour guides that work for him as well.
Good.
He was excellent. We'll make sure you get a link in there. He had given us some pointers of things to see the next day, so we got some rest. And the next day in Hong Kong, what you're going to see here is we went to the amazing Buddhist nunnery, the gardens. We did a little bit of shopping, had another nice meal. You're not going to want to miss that, especially the gardens. And we had a huge surprise in the garden that you were just thrilled over.
That was really neat. Okay, friends, I hope you stay tuned. We will show you that soon. And have a great day. Take care.
Thanks a lot for watching.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.